Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Rumcast, specifically a bonus episode of the Rumcast for November 2024. And we do these bonus episodes once a month for Patreon members and subscribers, but will every once in a while, every blue moon, we make them public for all to hear, perhaps more Rumcast and know what they're missing.
Christmas came early this year, John.
Yeah, exactly.
It's another free bonus episode of the Rumcast. Yeah, I think we only do this maybe once or twice a year, but as you said, these are regular episodes we do for Patreon subscribers. But we want to show you what goes on behind closed doors a little bit. Let the community in, get a little sneak preview.
Exactly.
So, and what better occasion than the occasion of this episode?
I agree, and we're excited. You know, a lot of the bonus episodes that we do, we end up kind of tasting through things and giving our opinions. Whereas, you know, in the regular series, the what would you say, the main series, we typically do interviews or subjects that we talk about. So in this case, we're going to taste through the new La Maison and Velier flag series releases, which I feel like the flag series hasn't been around very long, but at the same time has already amassed a reputation, like bringing in really high quality rum expressions from the country of origin. They have the deconstructed flag on the label, and it works really well.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, they kind of launched, and we should distinguish a little bit between there are U.S. flag series releases and there are EU flag series releases, and there may be some other markets that are sprinkled in within each of those. But so they're slightly different, but generally from the same countries. And I think part of what put them on people's radar so quickly right away is La Maison and Velier does have a bit of a built-in advantage just because of their reputation in the rum world. But B, the first two releases they did, the Guyana 1998 here in the States and Trinidad 2002, I believe, these very long-aged, 20-plus year rums from really well-regarded rum origins and distilleries. And I know the Guyana rum, I think, was aged entirely in a port cask. So, I believe it was Port Morant, if I'm remembering correctly. So it was just like a very whoa, these are, some pretty unique rums, very long-aged, hard to get a hold of stuff like this. And then, as we established in the Best Bottle Design episode, I mean, just killer branding, bottles, labels. It's something you could hang on your wall, probably, those labels.
They really nailed it with the branding, right? And so that's, when you have something like that, it's not only the quality of rum that we know we can trust from them, but also just something that is so well designed, like you said, that you can put up as art almost. It really made waves, to say the least. So I'm excited to try some of these too. Also, so you've got the Cambodia here, which I've never had a rum from Cambodia before this, so I'm excited for that.
It's a first for me as well.
Yeah, and then some Jamaica rum and some Fiji rum, which we know we've had quite a few Jamaica and Fiji rums. But, this was something, Will, I had been meaning to get into you with before we get to the specifics of these and taste through them. When I saw these, my first reaction was a little bit of I'm glad they're now in the series because we hadn't seen a Jamaica or Fiji rum in this series yet. But also it was kind of okay, am I...
Wait, you were let down?
Well, I don't want to say let down is the wrong word. It was kind of I've probably had similar rums before, so I wonder how different they're going to be.
Okay.
And I think that was an interesting initial thought, but then I kind of came full circle with it of saying to myself, well, that might be true, but every rum expression is slightly different, and you can find different things even in going back to the hits.
For sure.
With these different expressions. For example, and now I'm going to digress a little bit here just for a minute. I
love a good John Gullah digression.
You and I were talking the other day about you got a new guitar, which is fantastic.
That's right. I can't stop. I can't shut up about it. Yeah.
And we also were talking about a little bit about Bob Dylan, right? And you're kind of some into Bob Dylan.
Also fantastic.
Less so
pre-'80s Bob Dylan, fantastic.
Yeah. So I plugged in my phone, interestingly, this morning into the car and just kind of let it go on a channel and play. And guess what the first song was?
A Bob Dylan song?
Bob Dylan, yes. And so, first of all, clearly our phones are listening to our conversations at all times.
What song was it?
Knocking on Heaven's Door.
Oh, classic. And so much better than the Guns N' Roses version.
Oh, so first of all, you're wrong there, okay?
No.
But secondly, I was going to say I didn't ever get to appreciate it. I came into this song, Knocking on Heaven's Door, by Guns N' Roses. Like, that is what I knew. I thought it was original by them for many years because I never was exposed to the Bob Dylan stuff.
Right.
And never really been a fan because even as we discussed, the Bob Dylan that I've heard didn't really strike me. It was kind of like,
The voice, it's kind of like adjusting to rum agricole, I think, for a new drinker. It's an acquired taste for many.
Maybe so. Anyhow, this song comes on, and I was pretty floored by it, man. Honestly, I was like, this is freaking awesome. This song is amazing.
Yes.
And yes, Guns N' Roses did a great job, but Bob Dylan really set him up for success with this. And it's a super well done song. I'm gonna let you comment, but I have one more comment after yours.
I think I know where you're going, but yeah, I will just say I think that's one of those songs where a lot of people haven't ever heard the original version, and it's a very different original version song.
It is.
But everything from the production, just like the vibe of it, there's these really kind of like eerie background vocals kind of going on throughout it.
Eerie's a weird word to use, but okay.
Yeah, well, it's just it creates this atmosphere and this mood to it. It's
melancholy, somber,
melancholy, like ethereal a little bit. It's a very cool song. So I'd encourage anyone who has not heard that version, put it on. It's a chill, acoustic guitars and stuff. It's awesome. But yes, please. So what thought did this bring to mind for you?
Well, so there's two things. One is on the technical side as a musician, I recognized, and this is just a quick aside, that the chord progression that they use in the original is slightly different than the Guns N' Roses one.
I actually didn't realize that.
So it's pretty close, but they're going to, and I don't know the actual key, but I'm just going to use a key. It's, it's like a G, D, and then A minor, and then G, D, Z, C, so anyways, the point is, the Guns N' Roses version in the chorus only uses the G, D, C, right? And not the minor chord.
Right. I think that's where the vibe shift comes.
Yes.
Is that A minor.
So exactly. That was the revelation that I had. It was like, holy crap. This is really great in the minor where they just keep the minor through the chorus in the Bob Dylan version. And I was like, I don't know, kind of mind blown a little bit by that. But then, so to bring this home, it made me recognize...
People at home were like, what the fuck are you talking about, John?
This is not rum. It made me realize that you can explore things that are classics and that are slightly different, and you get really a lot of enjoyment out of it. So
yeah, definitely.
I'm looking forward to, like, I have a new kind of lease on how to see, it's a Jamaica rum. And yeah, maybe it's a Hamden, maybe it's a Worthy Park or something that I've tasted before that's similar, but that doesn't mean I know exactly what this is going to bring.
Yeah,
so
I think if you're a rum enthusiast who's always trying to try the next thing or find the thing that you haven't experienced before, it gets easy a lot of times to look past the things that you've we've probably tried 50 Worthy Park rums over the last couple of years, and it's like, another Worthy, because the Jamaica is from Worthy Park, I believe, but so many times I end up trying one of those Worthy Park rums, and I'm like, there is something a little bit different about this. I actually, when we were tasting through Rolling Forks releases earlier this year, they had a Worthy Park rum, and I was kind of like, okay, cool, Worthy Park. I kind of know what's up with this. I'm not really expecting any surprises, and it's not like it was completely off profile or anything, but I was just like, man, this is a fantastic Worthy Park that is just a little bit different than a lot of other ones I've had in the past. And so I'm pumped to try these. I think this lineup, what threw me off slightly was because of the way they came out the gate with those two releases that were super long aged rums. I was kind of expecting the whole Flag Series line to continue that theme and all be like 20 plus year super long aged rums. And in this lineup, we've got an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 12-year-old. And we should mention that the EU releases, I believe, the Cambodia release for the EU is actually 5 years old, so it's a little younger. But I think their Jamaica is 13 years old, and their Fiji is slightly older. Oh, it's not slightly older. It's 21 years old. So still kind of fitting more into the first two releases. And there's also a Barbados, a Foursquare, I believe, a 16-year-old that was released in the EU as well. But the age threw me off a little bit, but you and I talk all day long about how age is only a number, and we've had 8-year-old, 9-year-old rums that are just as good as 20-year-old rums. So it wasn't really a disappointment. It was just a little surprise. But yeah, seeing Cambodia thrown in there, a rum region I haven't tried before, alongside familiar kind of stalwarts of the rum
Hmm.
industry. I'm just looking forward to it. And I think it's probably just going to be casks that they think are particularly exceptional or interesting go into this series. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
So why don't we? I guess should we start with the order of these? Do we usually do ABV lowest to highest, but in this case, it looks like they actually line up with aging lowest to highest as well.
Yeah, it really worked out for us. We've got the Cambodia, which is 8 years old at 48.7%, which is actually cask strength, a very low cask strength for the rum world. And then we have the Jamaica 2015, which is 9 years old at 60.4% cask strength, and the Fiji 2012, 12 years old at 64.5%. So it's just these steady steps up in ABV and age. So yeah, I think we should start with the Cambodia. And to give a little background on this, so this comes from what I believe is the only rum distillery in Cambodia. I know when they started back in 2014, they were the first rum distillery there, called Samai, which is, I believe, the Khmer word for modern or new generation is the rough translation there. So it kind of makes sense, being the first rum distillery there. And it was actually founded by two guys from Venezuela, Antonio Lopez and Daniel Pacheco, who I think one of them had been living in Cambodia or Southeast Asia maybe for about a decade or so
He was
by the
on
time
holiday in Cambodia.
it just never came home, I guess. And they found a local woman to hire as head distiller. She had like a degree in chemical engineering or something like that, I believe. Her name is Moeng Darachampich. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, so my apologies.
I'm not even going to try
in advance. But she was actually hired way back at the beginning in 2014 as well, and has been there ever since. So kind of a cool, unconventional coming together of how this distillery started. And they are using molasses that comes from locally grown sugarcane. They refer to it as estate molasses. So I don't know if the distillery is like on the same estate where that's being processed, but it's the sugarcane is grown in the Ko Kong province of Cambodia. And yeah, so I'm excited to see what's up with this. 5 years tropical aging at origin and ex-bourbon, 3 years continental aging and ex-bourbon. As we said, cask strength 48.7%, molasses 205 bottles, so not a ton.
Wow.
And I did confirm with La Maison and Velier. I think the suggested retail price is somewhere like the ballpark of $95 in the US. So
Okay.
again, that suggested retail price, they ultimately don't really have control of what stores end up charging for it. So, but that's kind of the around that price is what I would expect if you're looking around.
So we've got a rum here that's, it shows the age and the color a little bit here. Nothing atypical there, and just kind of nosing it to begin with. And other than, well, I don't know if you do this. I'm probably the only person on earth that is so crazy to, when I get something that I have a new sample, I will usually like immediately take a tiny swig.
Yeah, I know you do.
I
You love to taste it out of those tiny little bottles. I never
I'm
do
like a
that.
kid in a candy store. I cannot help myself. I'm so immature that I'm just like, ooh, boom, let me just try it, and then I put it away. So that's all I've done is this tiny little bit, like just enough to wet your taste buds with it. So this is really the first time I'm digging into it, and the first thing I'm thinking is, I don't know that by nosing this I would have known it was a molasses rum.
Okay, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily the nose for me, but on the palate, because I took a couple of sips before we hopped on
Okay,
here, just
okay.
to familiarize myself a little bit, so I'm not just stumbling around like a complete idiot for the first 2 minutes of tasting this. And one
That's
of
my
the
job.
notes, well, yeah. That was not what I was implying, but one of the notes I wrote down for the palate was reminds me of a cane juice rum a little bit. So I don't know
Yeah.
if maybe the molasses is minimally processed. Maybe more of that cane character is still in there. I don't know what it
Yeah.
is, or maybe it's just something about the aging. But another interesting note I wanted to point out that I also think is somewhat consistent with the style of the rum to me is on the Samai website. There was a quote I pulled out where it said, bringing the Latin traditions of rum production to its Asian roots. And I think what they mean by that is, sugarcane's roots in Asia. But there are aspects of this that remind me of Latin American rums as well, in that I feel like the nose, it's not, I wouldn't say it's as cask driven as a lot of Latin American rums, but I would certainly
Certainly
say
agree.
it veers more towards a cask driven nose. Oh, and I don't think I mentioned this, but I should mention this is a pot still rum. So they actually have pot and column stills at the distillery. And the pictures on the website, it looks kind of like small alembic, almost cognac style pot stills with like the swan neck and everything and the bulbous kind of part. And, but yeah, very cask driven nose to me. I get a little bit of kind of, candy dried fruit characteristics, but a lot of oak, some citrus peel, vanilla, custardy kind of thing. And then a little bit, the thing that was sticking out to me as somewhat unique and it didn't remind me of a lot of other rums. I get this kind of sassafras and sorghum kind of vibe from the nose too. I don't know if that's just me, but it was something like there was something I kept coming back for and being like, what is that with this? And that's what I think it manifests as for me.
It's not like when I think sassafras, sometimes I think root beer or Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
And it's not quite there.
Not all the way there, but there's something. I have this bottle of bitters. They're Woodford Reserve bitters, and I think it's not flavor is the wrong word because I think it's like naturally flavored or whatever, but they're sassafras and sorghum bitters. So maybe that reference point is just it's just reminding me of those, and so that's what I'm pulling out. But yeah, that's what I get from the nose.
Yeah, and the note about like little cognac stills, actually, it did make me think of cognac. It could be by suggestion sometimes, once you say that.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's something cognac-y about this. I don't know if I've ever used that as an adjective before. Cognac-y, very slightly. So it feels, like you said, there's cask there for sure. But at the same time, there's also some other things that in ex-bourbon aging I'm not used to. In an ex-bourbon aged rum. So,
I might have guessed that it was like French oak or something like that because there is some kind of aged rum agricole connection where it doesn't taste entirely like those, but there's a hint of it. I also, on the finish, I get this kind of weird note that reminds me a few weeks ago, I've been snacking on pineapple a lot recently, John. Getting a fresh pineapple, cutting it up, and just eating it out of a bowl.
Hack a pineapple up and go at it. Yeah.
But this time of year, it's November in Nashville now, and we're not getting the best pineapples up here. And I had a pineapple last week, and it was like some bites were just a little off, and not in like the good overripe kind of way, and like the why does this bite of pineapple taste like rubber and olives a little bit? Anyway, I bring that up because that note, that like rotten pineapple note, I get a slight bit of that on the finish of this rum.
I haven't found it yet, but I'm trying to dig for it now that you mentioned it.
It's very specific, so
the Latin tradition, or we talk sometimes about like Spanish heritage rums, for lack of a better term. It is there in the sense like this is a very straightforward rum to me. It's light bodied. It's good. I'm getting a lot of different kind of flavor journey with it. It's not one note, but the lightness to it is what reminds me of that kind of other rums from
because I was thinking about that, and I knew it was pot still going into it, and I wrote down it's kind of like a Latin American rum, but with more oomph. So to me, it has more heft to it than a lot of those column still rums do, and I would guess that comes from the pot still, but there could be other factors at play too. I think they also mentioned that this has on La Maison and Velier on their website, they described the wash for this rum as being long fermented. So I don't know exactly what long fermented is for this distillery, but it's definitely it's not like if I had this and it was from Panama or something, I'd be like, whoa, this is a little out there for what I would expect from a Panama rum. So I'm not saying it's exactly like those, but it's kind of like a cousin, but it has some more heft, some more weight, and some slightly interesting, slightly funky things going on. It's not a funky rum at all by any means. I just, that's more that one kind of odd note I get on the finish that reminds me of the rotten pineapple that feels a little off to me.
I'm still not getting that enough. Not saying it's not necessarily there. I am getting a good long finish from this. So you get a good finish from it despite it being a lighter body, which is uncommon, I would say. You know what? It's really pleasing. I would have probably also guessed that this was column still. I don't know why.
I could see that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a wide range of output of column stills. I've had I've had column rum that I would have, I was thinking back to our last semi-blind review of that TDL rum, the Trinidad one, which is a column still rum. And I was thinking to myself, I forgot to guess whether this was pot or column, but the two things I thought it could have been were Trinidad Distillers Limited, which is column, or Clarendon, which I think what we were thinking of was likely a pot still from Clarendon. So, it's tough to distinguish that stuff, I think, a lot of times.
I mean, it just, this plays really nice. It almost reminds me of a Samaroli rum, because all of the Samaroli rums I've had are around a similar ABV, and they drink super well rounded and not sticking out or difficult. And sometimes I have a tendency to think pot still means this bunch of flavor that's going to smack you around.
Yeah.
And I don't get that at all from this. This is very much like playing nice in its own little box of what it is.
The more I drink it,
I actually appreciate it. Yeah.
It's got a butteriness to it as well. Yeah. That's really nice. But on the palate, I get a lot of that, whatever that sassafras and sorghum note that I'm getting from the rum. It comes through a lot. But
it's nice and unique.
It's a nice rum, and I do think it has its own little flavor profile here that I wouldn't say is similar to any other. I mean, it is similar to other places, but it's a unique flavor profile.
There's a little Thailand in there, I would say.
I could see that. I could see that. Yeah.
But still its own thing.
A little bit of that black tea note that I get so strongly from Shakara.
Good stuff. You could drink the shit out of that rum. Like, that's...
Is that going to be your new catchphrase?
Is it?
You said that.
Now,
you said that recently. Yeah, on another
it.
episode. Because
I hate that. I don't like that.
In the patrons Discord, people were laughing at that.
I forgot about that, but you're right. Apparently, that is the new fantastic. You can drink the shit out of this. Yeah.
It might be a downgrade from fantastic. I think if I were producing a rum, I'd rather you say it's fantastic than I would drink the shit out of this.
I just mean that when I say
I think
that,
we all know what it means, John.
No, I'm just saying. There's people that I could even present this to that are not like rum enthusiasts that I think would really enjoy this. And that's not often the case with a lot of the things that I think are fantastic, So maybe that's what it is. That might be the difference.
Fair.
All right.
Are we ready to move on?
Let's do it. Shit, I just spilled a drop on my laptop. Let's hope this is not high enough ester to kill it.
It just kills any viruses that your computer has.
Well done. Oh, I mean, so easy. No, sorry, that sounded nasty for me to say, like, so easy, but it's clearly Worthy Park. Like, it just jumps out at you.
What mark do you think it is?
Let me taste it first, and I'll come back to that.
Oh, yeah, we can come back to that. For now,
I mean, I have like a 1/3 guess of being right? So...
Yeah, my initial reaction is it seems a little too, like, it's got a little too much to it to be WPL. But again, I wanna taste it first. But to give the high level specs on this is the Jamaica 2015. Again, it's not labeled as a Worthy Park because Worthy Park no longer allows other people to use their brand name. But there are references to WP and to the Luitis Vale, which is where Worthy Park is located. So this is a molasses rum. We know it is all pot still because that's all Worthy Park has, are pot stills. 1 year of tropical aging at origin in ex-bourbon, and 8 years continental aging in ex-bourbon for a total of 9 years. Cask strength, 60.4% ABV. This has a run of 237 bottles, and I believe what I heard from La Maison and Velier, the standard retail price, or suggested retail price, apologies, for this one is actually a little bit less than the Cambodia. So might be able to find it a little less than that approximately $95 range, as long as retailers aren't, just jacking up the prices. Hopefully that's not happening. But yeah, I mean, the nose jumps out of the glass. You're getting the banana, the pineapple, the funk. It's
definitely the banana note there, the overripe banana. Yep. And nothing, I will say so far, nothing that really distinguishes it other than the fact, like you said, well, I don't want to say it's a fact, but my opinion, it matches yours, that it's slightly heavier than some of the other Worthy Park rums on the nose.
And it's a very like banana runts kind of banana to me.
Yeah. You like banana runts? I usually leave those
No, I don't remember the last time I ate a runt, to be honest.
Same here, but
It was never a
I do
candy I
remember
went out of my way
piling up.
for.
Yeah, I'd piled up the little banana runts and left them
No,
for someone else.
as far as like fruity hard candies, when I was always more of a Skittles guy. Really liked the sour Skittles too. when
Sour,
those came
yes.
out. Yeah.
Oh, I'm with you there. Sour's my jam.
Although I recently bought a bag of sour Skittles when I was in the airport,
yeah.
and I hadn't had one in over a decade, and they have changed the sour Skittles formula because they used to be
Really?
covered in that like gritty
Yeah.
sour powder.
Yeah, and it would get
They are
sticky.
not
Mhm.
like that anymore. And
Really?
I was not as much of a fan. So
Ooh.
anyway, apologies for the digression.
All right, I'm going in.
Okay. I immediately rescind my not WPL analysis based on the nose, because based on the palate, it really tastes like WPL to me.
I mean, there's not a whole lot of WPM out there.
Yeah. Or
So there's
WPE.
Or WPE, right.
And we should point out when we're talking about, these are Worthy Park marks, WPL standing for Worthy Park Light, WPM is Worthy Park Medium, and WPE that's extra, right?
Yeah, I think it's extra.
Yeah, and those go from lowest amount of esters to highest amount of esters. So
I don't know. I feel like it's not out of the question that it's WPM.
maybe it's a blend.
It could be a blend. There you go. Yeah.
Because it's weird. I swear from the nose, I get that more like acidic funk. And on the palate, that acid doesn't come through at all. I get like the mellow banana bread, classic Worthy Park kind of flavor profile. Or I should say classic WPL flavor profile.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, the cask here is present, but it's really more distillate driven, which is fine. It's powerful. I mean, I'm feeling the 60% on this. Sometimes we've drank rums here. We're like, wow, this really drinks below its ABV. This one feels to me like it's around the 60% mark, but it's damn good. Gosh, love me some Worthy Park. I will say, so far, nothing different than most of the Worthy Parks that are good out there.
I was arriving at the same conclusion. I was taking one more sip to really search to see if there's anything in there that's a little bit unexpected or different or unique in some way. And I would say it's a fabulous Worthy Park rum in the way that many Worthy Park rums are fabulous. So
Exactly.
to me, this is of the two, which of course the other one was the only rum I've ever had from Samai Distillery. But of the two, this one is like very down the middle of the plate Worthy Park.
Yep, and it's a great fastball. You know,
It
I mean,
is.
if you're gonna go down the middle with a pitch, you know, be from a distillery like a Worthy Park that just does what they do incredibly well. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
the
great.
banana note is just so good.
It's one of my favorite rums of all time. So you know, just in general, I mean, so it's hard not to like it. At the same time, it's hard to distinguish it from the other releases
Yeah.
that are kind of out there.
This almost to me is like it's like taking the Worthy Park Estate Reserve release and increasing the ABV and getting like a slight little bit more of the acidic fruity funk.
Yeah,
whereas
maybe.
the Estate Reserve is more like all mellow banana bread. This one does have like the mellow banana in it, but there's a little bit of that sharpness in there as well.
Yeah.
More on the nose than the palate, but it's a little bit there on the palate too.
Do you ever do the trick where you drop a little bit in your palms, rub it together, and then smell?
Yeah, I do that a lot, especially when I'm pouring out of a bottle and a little bit like drips down the neck. I'll usually
Yeah.
wipe it off with my hand and rub it in. And
So I just did
Yeah.
the same thing because it fell on my laptop, so I was wiping it up and doing that.
it's free
And-
cologne.
Nice. When you do that, you really get the bread note then. So that's what I was going to point
interesting.
out is if you do that, the bread note comes out like, I mean, crescent roll type of buttery bread.
We should mention that we were provided these samples free of charge. I meant to mention that at the top of the show, so apologize for burying it a little bit. But yes, these samples were provided free of charge and not in any promise of review or anything like that. We just wanted to talk about them because obviously these are highly anticipated releases.
Yeah.
And so far so good. By the way, one other thing I meant to mention about the Cambodia is Samai Distillery does bottle their own Samai brand rums, and I was looking into a little bit where to find them, and there's an article from this year in Drinks Business that mentioned that as of now, Samai exports about 30% of its production to France, Singapore, Spain, and Poland. And then it says its fastest growing market. I don't know if that means Poland or all of those markets. That would be interesting if Poland was their fastest growing market. But the remaining 70% is sold domestically. So if you're in the US like we are, this is one of the few, I was going to say easy ways to get Samai. It might not be that easy depending on where you're living, because there's only 200 something bottles out there. But just kind of interesting to see that. Also, I'm kind of like, I went into several stores while I was in Spain, a month or so ago, and I didn't see any Samai that I can recall.
I have a confession. I didn't realize it, and I just looked up the brand Samai as you were talking about
You've had this before?
I have. I had their Samai release. I don't know which one it was. I might even still have the sample bottle. But yes, I had it. But this is really going off memory, so please, I need to revisit it to ensure. My recollection was that one was a lot sweeter. So
they could be... On their website, they mention a gold rum that they have that I believe has honey in it.
Okay.
We should also point out, these rums released by La Maison and Velier on all their materials all say, no additives, no filtering, none of that stuff. So I would imagine whatever they got from Samai is something that doesn't have anything added to it.
I'm going to have to go back and verify that I'm not misremembering also. But like something triggered in me and I was like, I think I recognize that.
So Samai Gold Rum, it says on their website, mixed with a drop of local organic honey.
Aha!
So it's almost like that's what Montagna used to do. They stopped doing it a couple of years ago, but they used to do something similar. So maybe that was what you had was kind of their standard gold rum, which obviously what we're drinking here is a much different beast from that. It's an 8-year-old rum. I would assume their gold rum is much younger as a startup craft distillery essentially. So. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that helps a lot because that was my. Yeah.
Good to bring that up.
Okay. All right. On to the Fiji.
The Fiji. So, this is a Fiji 2012. John, do you want to guess what distillery this is from?
I'm gonna guess it's the one distillery in Fiji.
South Pacific Distilleries. It's a safe guess. It's not mentioned on any of the La Maison and Velier materials, but it is.
Although. Did I hear right that there's maybe another Fiji rum distillery on the horizon?
I know of at least one Fiji rum distillery on the horizon, perhaps working with some fresh sugarcane juice, that sort of thing. But this is being 12 years old, assuredly from South Pacific Distilleries. And as soon as I smelled it, I was like, this is South Pacific. So this is a molasses rum. It is all pot still. And 2 years tropical aging in ex-bourbon, 10 years continental aging in ex-bourbon, cask strength 64.5%, 241 bottles of this out there with a suggested retail price that, according to LM&V, should probably be a little bit more than the Cambodia. So I don't know exactly how much a little bit more is, but I would guess 12 years, cask strength, Fiji rum. I would guess this is probably more like, 120, somewhere around there. John, what do you think?
140.
I could see that. Yeah.
So again, just the quintessential kind of South Pacific Fiji.
I mean, I'm getting I'm getting that industrial Fiji funk on this nose. To me,
then also go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, to me, it's one of the closest. It's not that close, but it's one of the things that most reminds me of some Coroni rums, just in terms of it's a different flavor of industrial funk, but it's this industrial rubber funk, like not as burnt rubber. Yeah, there's a little bit of that, and then just kind of like a menthol funk to it as well. Almost. Yeah, eucalyptus. Yeah,
but also ocean spray.
I can
see
that.
Not the juice, but the actual ocean
spray from the ocean. Yeah.
Yeah, just like a slightly salty. Yeah.
I agree with that. It's a funky ocean breeze.
That's the new flavor of ocean spray coming out. Funky ocean breeze.
And
you got to be careful. This is strong.
Yeah. Some like pineapple, melon, kiwi kind of. Yeah. There's fruity quality to it as well.
Absolutely. You've got to be careful like where you put your nose. If you put your nose in this glass, it's going to burn.
It's like a tropical fruit salad, kind of.
I agree.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
That is absolutely delicious.
It's really
Is that
really good.
Are you reacting to that as strongly as I am?
It's phenomenal.
That
It's
sip
so
took
damn
me
good.
on a journey.
It's so good. I will say the immediate difference between this and other Fijis that I've had that have also been spectacular is I still feel like there's a little more salinity in this.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
a little bit. But damn, it's really good.
A finish that doesn't quit. It's still just permeating. Man, that is good. And that's just one sip. I gotta go. I gotta go back for some more. Man, so like on the entry, it's a lot of that like sharp tropical fruit salad, like very pleasant. It's sharp but also mellow somehow at the same time. And then that kind of gives way, I think, a little bit more to the cask aging, and I'm left with almost this like fruity molasses cookie kind of finish. It's really good.
It is. This is how you do a 64.5% cask strength release.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, there's just no part of this that makes me feel bowled over by it, and yet it still has all of this flavor and all of these things that it's doing, and then the finish, like you said, really goes on forever. I mean, it's like it won't leave.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's almost like if you did like a tropical fruit salad sorbet or something like that, because there's almost like a softness, a richness
Right.
to it.
And for a 12-year-old rum and ex-bourbon, I mean, I'm not getting a lot of the spice characteristics that I usually get, especially on the finish. It doesn't bring out as much of the spice. It's there, but it's like it's got its corner. It's sitting in its corner. It's like Aragorn in Lord of the Rings in Bree. It's sitting there smoking a pipe in its corner, and it's just kind of sitting there. And the rest of it is all where it should be. It's really well done.
Yeah, I'm just taking it all in. This is
Okay.
That's a great Fiji.
It's fantastic. There you go.
You do I do pick up the char from the barrel is like the biggest cask characteristic I get as the
Correct.
finish
Yeah.
extends.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There's almost like you were describing it as salinity on the nose, and I almost get, this is going to sound bad, I think salinity is a more pleasant way to describe it, but I'm saying this because it reminds me of the ocean a little bit, but there's almost like a fresh seafood quality as well, almost like shellfish, or like an oyster or something like that, which again, those are very like high salinity kind of flavor food items.
Right. You
But I
taste
pick
the
up-
ocean in those.
Yeah,
when
you
they're
taste the
fresh.
ocean in it. It's
Yeah.
like an oyster is what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
But if you piled like a bunch of tropical fruit in there and got that acid in there to kind of cut through the brininess of the oyster, because I wouldn't describe it as like a super briny rum or anything, but it's just an accent on there that really brings it all together. I would say of the three of these, the Fiji was the one, and maybe listeners could tell from my reaction, but that's the one of the three that really kind of blew me away, and is the one that if I were gonna prioritize which of these I personally wanted to buy, which again, there's a number of things that weigh into that decision for me. It's not always just about which one is the quote unquote best, because honestly it's hard to really say which of these is the best because they're so different and they're each such a distinct expression of the place where they came from. But I don't really have a Fiji rum like this currently in my bar. 12 years old, cask strength, just super flavorful, interesting, evolving. It's kind of a hole in my bar right now. So I could see this fitting in neatly. The Worthy Park rum, I have some other Worthy Parks that are on the same wavelength as this, so it wouldn't be a high priority for me, even though it is a very good rum in a vacuum. And then the Cambodia, that's one for me where I could see snagging a bottle, if only because I don't have anything from Cambodia. I did enjoy it. I do think it's a good rum, but it didn't prompt the same response to me as the Fiji, where I'm just like, holy shit, that is, just really kind of blowing me away right now.
Yeah. I almost want to play the kill, marry, F game with these, but instead of that, like it's like buy for me to keep and drink on my own, buy for a gift for somebody, or buy to have other people taste when they come to my house. Okay. I don't know if that works, but so Cambodia, I'm buying. I enjoy it, but I would want to show people. I would,
Okay.
hey,
Yes.
here, try this, and they would enjoy it.
Yeah.
Buying for somebody else as a gift, the Jamaica, because
Yep.
it's so good, and you can give somebody a quality that they're going to enjoy. You know they're going to appreciate it. But I probably, like you, have enough of it in my home bar at this point. And then the Fiji is buying for me to keep in the back somewhere so I can bring it out and just enjoy it on my own once in a while.
So I like this game, and we need to come up with something that has a ring to it, like Fuck, Marry,
Okay.
Kill does,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But I wish I could disagree with your picks, because that would be more interesting for the sake of
Yeah.
conversation, but I have the exact same picks. I would buy the Worthy Park for someone that I really want to introduce to what Jamaica rum can be, you know, outside of the flagship Appleton line and that kind of more subdued flavor profile. It's a great intro to the next step of Jamaican rum. Yeah, the Cambodia, I would love having it just because, again, I don't have anything from there. And it's kind of a one of one rum for me right now. And I think it's a very easy introduction to people, as you were saying, when they come over. And the Fiji, I'm just grabbing this for myself and not sharing it with anyone because it's just it's just too good. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll come up with, or hey, if anybody out there can come up with a catchy name for that, please.
Yeah,
At this
we're
point, we
getting
need-
some great name suggestions, by the way,
Yeah.
from our episode about the Rumcast Cask Project, as John and I try to come up with our name for what that rum release will be. We've gotten some really phenomenal suggestions, which we'll share on maybe a future episode where we finally decide on the name. We can bring out some of the top candidates, but also just in general, great reactions across the board. We've gotten some great emails about that. We really appreciate the enthusiasm around that announcement from that episode, and just people seem to be excited about it, which is super encouraging for us. So really appreciate everyone who's commented or sent an email in to host@rumcast.com.
It makes us feel less crazy.
It
It's
does,
nice.
yeah. It's very validating, so we appreciate that. But John, before we wrap this up, anything else to say about this latest batch of La Maison and Velier Flag Series releases?
I mean, it is what I thought it would be, but that's a good thing in this case. Like, I expected this to bring something that I would really enjoy, something that would be really good, and all of this fits that well. So there's not a lot I didn't expect. Even the Cambodia, it's kind of like, okay, it was unique, but not like, whoa, what is this? Crazy.
Right,
And I
right,
think that's
right.
kind of what this series is going after. It's kind of emblematic, right?
Right.
With the flag. And
Emblem.
So yeah, it's trying to find these rums that are emblematic of these countries and can show them off. And it's doing a great job at that. You really honestly can't go wrong. The only thing I would say, the Guyana 98, we've talked about this before, not worth the price that it was, in my opinion. But other than that, every other one of these has been great,
Yeah.
and I would pay the price for them for sure. If I could find them, that is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the trick. I will say the Guyana release, it's not that I didn't think it was worth the price. It was more just like it wasn't the Guyana rum for me at that price. And I think that was mostly owed to the port cask. It just the port influence was just a little bit too much for me personally. But I've talked to other people who really love that rum and would have no regrets. And
it's
I
well
think it was
liked.
like a $200. I mean, those were the Trinidad and the Guyana were in a different stratosphere of price, which made sense given their age.
That's fair too. Yeah.
That Trinidad Flag Series is like that. I don't know if white whale rum, that might be going too far, because I've just kind of accepted at this point that, I don't need to get a bottle. I'm not going to buy one at auction or whatever. But, we got the Guyana bottle here in the Nashville area, but we didn't get
Same.
the Trinidad. And I
Same.
loved that Trinidad. I picked it as my favorite rum of the year that year. So sadly, I did not get a bottle of that one. But I would have paid whatever the cost for that, unless it was something absolutely ridiculous. But these rums, I think are all worthy of the price, depending on what you have in your bar. But the Fiji for me is the one that, like, I just feel like any rum enthusiast would love to have this, even if you already have some Fiji rums. And the Cambodia, like we said, it's unique. It's a interesting introduction to that rum from that distillery from a country that doesn't produce a ton of rum, but is an interesting new location on the global rum map.
It's exciting to see this series continuing.
And
I hope it continues to do annual releases like this, because it's just gaining esteem.
Yeah, I'd love, by the way, La Maison and Velier merch idea. Release like a print that can be framed that just has all the various flag designs from the flag series on it. I would buy that. And I think a lot of other people would as well. So, you know, maybe just do a small limited print run, put them up for order on the La Maison and Velier US website. You can do the EU one as well. We'll buy them. We're waiting. Free idea. All right, John. I know that we would both love to hear listeners' takes on these rums. So if you have been able to snag a bottle of these or try them via samples like we did, send us an email, host@rumcast.com. That's HOST@rumcast.com. Or you can let us know what you think on social media. John, where can they find us there?
At the Rumcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads, as well as YouTube. So if you like watching our reactions as much as you like listening to our voices, YouTube's the platform for you. We don't have much of backgrounds, but you know, you can see our tasting as we taste it. If there's other areas or things you want us to talk about, cover about rum, we love hearing from you. So it doesn't have to be just about the flag series. Anything that comes to mind that's rum related, let us know. Get in touch with us one of those ways, and we will appreciate it.
Yeah, and as we said, this is one of our special free bonus episodes that we're releasing for the whole world to hear. If you like this and want to get more bonus episodes every month, along with some other fun things we do, you can join the Rumcast Patreon group. Thriving, growing Rumcast Patreon community. That's patreon.com/therumcast, patreon.com/therumcast. There's a link in the show notes, but we're doing bonus episodes. We're doing monthly happy hours, which are always super fun, just chill, relax, laid back, always interesting conversations, interesting people showing up. Love doing those
and people
every
from
month.
everywhere. It's great to see, like, not only in the United States from everywhere, but even internationally, and it's so fun to have that everyone come together and talk about rum the way we do and just kind of meander through things in a fun way.
Yeah, and there's producers popping in, bottlers popping in, so always like really cool perspectives on the industry and everything. And we also have the Rumcast Patreon Discord community as well, which is a great place for all the Patreon members to talk rum. We love jumping in there and getting involved in the conversation. But John, with all that said, I think that's it for this bonus edition of the Rumcast. So we'll be back soon with more. We'll be back soon with regular Rumcast episodes, some good interviews coming up. So looking forward to getting those out there. But John, until next time, cheers.
Cheers.